You were probably surprised when you used stainless steel the first time to see those stains in the bottom of the pots. If you're new to cooking with stainless steel cookware, you might have been pretty disappointed to find stains at the bottom of the pot after the first time you used them. Could have been a white film or maybe a bit of a rainbow. Well, in this video, I'm going to let you know why that's happened and how to get rid of them. Hi everyone, this is Cookware SOS and my name is Beth. Today we're going to discuss stainless steel cookware and how to keep it looking as nice as possible for as long as possible. So how are manufacturers able to call it stainless steel when obviously it stains a lot? Well, when you compare it to the alternative, it really doesn't stain that much, not permanently. So the alternative they're talking about is carbon steel. Carbon steel is actually more like cast iron in that it needs to be seasoned on a regular basis to keep the rust away. But it's also inevitable that that carbon steel is going to get a patina on it. Having a patina means that it's going to lose its uniform gray steel finish. It's going to have a lot of kind of discolorations in it. And those are what they consider stains. So to make the steel stain less, they've added chromium to it. The chromium is what gives the steel that really nice shine. It also, when it's combined with the air, creates what they call a chromium oxide. And that's what's going to protect the steel from rusting, as well as stop it from getting that patina. So if it has the added chromium, what are those stains that you're seeing at the bottom of your pots? It really is quite amazing at how many of these stains are simply caused by water. If you let your pots and pans air dry, as the water evaporates, it will leave mineral deposits. An easy way to get rid of those is just to dry them by hand right away, not to let that water evaporate on the pot. Another really common stain with stainless steel cookware is on the inside bottom of the pot, and that's a chalky white film. That happens a lot after boiling water that has a high calcium content. If you have a house that has hard water, that's probably happening to you quite often. Now, I've also found this happening after I've boiled something quite starchy, so with pasta or rice. It can also leave a hard film on the bottom. Now, the nice thing about both of these things is it is quite easy to remove. Now, another really common discoloration on stainless steel cookware is this rainbow effect that you can see. Now, that is usually caused by a combination of the chromium that is there to protect the pot, and it's kind of mixing with high heat and oxygen. It really is to create a protective film on it, but you do get that rainbow effect. It's not going to harm the pan at all, and it's not going to interfere with your cooking or get anything into the food, but some people really just don't like the look of it. And again, it's going to be very easy to remove. You also do want to be careful if you are cooking on really high heat, that rainbow effect is almost a warning. Don't cook too high for too long. There is always that possibility that you're going to warp the pan. Now, just because we do all of the cooking of our food on the inside of our pots and pans doesn't mean that we're not going to get food residue burnt onto the outside. So we also need to make sure that we are cleaning that as well. If you're pouring things out of your pot or things are cooking along beside it, you can get cooked on grease on the outside of your pots, and the longer you leave it, the worse it's going to get and the harder it's going to be to remove. So make sure that you're also cleaning the outside of the pots. I have had a few people ask me about why their gas stove seems to be turning their stainless steel cookware black. Some of them even worry that it might be the quality of the stainless steel itself. But I think if you've bought it from a reputable brand, that's probably not going to be the reason. It's most likely to be food residue that's been dripped onto the element itself, Once the flame hits that residue, it's going to create some smoke, and then it'll leave a sooty residue on the outside of the pot. You also want to make sure that the element isn't up too high. The flame doesn't actually need to touch the pot. If it does that, it's just going to scorch the bottom and it'll burn the food even inside the pot a lot faster. Also, make sure that the pot is on the right size element. If that flame comes up alongside of the pot, then if there's residue on the outside of the pot, it's going to get burnt on and will cause more discoloration. Another type of stain that you can get in your stainless steel cookware is called pitting. Pitting is caused when you get salts landing on the stainless steel and degrading the chromium oxide. That is what's coating it. It's protecting the steel. Once the salt is removed, then the chromium in the steel will react with the air and rebuild that chromium oxide coating, but it will still leave a mark. And they call it pitting, but hopefully you won't actually feel it. As long as that pit isn't deep, you should be able to continue using that pot without a problem. If you really notice big, deep pits, it might be time to replace the pot. Now, how do you avoid pitting? Well, the best thing to do is to make sure that undissolved salt does not hit the bottom of the pan. So if you're boiling potatoes or pasta, something that you want to add salt to, make sure that the water is already boiling so it dissolves the salt right away. The second way to avoid it is to not let your pot boil dry. Because if you have added salt to the water, even if it's dissolved at some point, once all the water evaporates, it will leave the salt in the pan and it will pit the bottom. And don't be fooled by thinking that there's no salt in the water just because you didn't add any. If you've been steaming some food, some kind of bun or fish, and there's been salt added onto it, as it drips down into the pot, salts might collect in there. So again, if you let that pot boil dry, those salts will sit in the bottom and still possibly pit it. Now that we know the most common stains that you can get on your cookware, what are the best ways to get rid of them? Well, there are 3 items that I use the most to get rid of these pesky stains. One of them is vinegar. The second is baking soda, and you probably have both of those in your kitchen already. And the third one is Barkeeper's Friend. It's a great all-purpose cleaner. When it comes to the water spots on your cookware from letting them air dry, the best way to get rid of them is just to dry them by hand right away. And then you don't have to worry about them anymore. For the calcium buildup that you get on the bottom of the pots, I usually like to use a mix of water and vinegar. You use 1 part vinegar to 3 parts water. Sometimes I'll just let it simmer a little bit on the element. Then all you do, dump it out, give it a bit of a rinse and wipe it out, and it should be gone. For the rainbow effect, again, using just vinegar, that you don't even have to heat it up. You can just rub it with a sponge around the bottom of the pot. You could let it sit, but then again, just rinse it off and wipe it. It should be gone. Now, with the baked on grease and any kind of soot that's come from a gas stove, you can use a paste of baking soda. You kind of let that sit on it for a little while. But for this one, I really do like to use Barkeeper's Friend. It's probably the easiest way to get it off and the most reliable. Now, you can easily find the vinegar and baking soda at your local grocery store, but I will put a link for Barkeeper's Friend down in the description. If you have your own preferred cleaning method, let us know what it is and write it in the comments below. Well, I hope I've been able to answer quite a few questions for you. And you should be happy to know that you might be new to cooking with stainless steel cookware, but you probably now know a lot more about the stains that you're seeing than people who have been using it for a really long time. Thanks so much for watching the video today. If you've at all found it helpful, please click subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming tips. Have a great day. Bye-bye.